Everybody, Chad with Nobody Else's Auto. It is 7 o'clock Sunday evening. Time for Sunday Night Live Chat. As always, we are live on two formats, Facebook and YouTube. There we go. YouTube just flashed, or Facebook just flashed on me, but I guess it came back. So we are live. We'll give everybody a few seconds to get their notifications. We will get rolling here just real quickly. But Bill's already on with us. Thanks for the support, Bill. Hit the like button. Appreciate that when you guys do that for me. It's great that you guys like hanging out. Got a few people starting to get on Facebook, so hopefully that is rolling as well tonight, and we'll continue to work. We've had a little better luck with it here lately, and keep our fingers crossed that it keeps hanging in there. So we will see how that goes. Anyway, got a few people getting on with us. We'll get ready to go. Number one's here with us. Hot Rod Shop from Virginia's on. Glad you guys all made it. Joe's on Facebook, so Facebook comments are working. So we've at least got that much going for us. So we've got one comment, so we know we're live, that everything's ticking. Glenn from Minnesota's on, one of our regulars. Big Job's back on. Brandon's here on YouTube. Good crowd building there as well. As always, thanks for coming back, guys. It really still amazes me that you all do. But Vic's on Facebook. Glad you're here. Tim, LNNC, glad you guys all made it back again. We're having a lot of fun with this. It just still shocks me that you guys all keep coming back and we keep doing it. Jim's on with us. Kevin's here. Chris is here. Ryland's back on. Glad all you guys made it. A lot of familiar faces popping up, and as well as a few new ones. So thanks to the new ones for checking us out and seeing what's going on. As always, throw a share out there. Let your friends know about us and see if they want to jump in and hang out with us as well. Robert's on with us. James is on. Dan's here. Joe's back. Joe's on Facebook. So glad all you guys made it tonight. All right. Let's see. Trying to stay caught up with here. Bill, Iowa Pepsi board like that. Yeah, that's kind of what that is. Scott's on with us. Glad you made it, Scott. But, yeah, real quick, since we're getting some comments right out of the gate about the sign tonight, that is just basically a chalkboard. Bill's got a Pepsi one like that. That's essentially what this was. It was in cafes or whatever, ice cream shops. My dad's on with us tonight, too. Glad he made it. And just essentially, this is basically a chalkboard. That's all that is. You wrote the daily specials on it, and that's where it hung in cafes or wherever. Obviously, Royal Crown Cola, really nice shape. Of course, most of these never really hung outside since they were kind of a special quote thing. You'll put it on the counter and see what they got for specials from the day. Brenda's on from West Virginia, and that's what they were for. So they never really hung outside, and this one was well preserved. I actually found it up in the rafters of an old garage here locally a few years ago, and so I found several pop signs come out of an old restaurant up in those rafters, and they were really well preserved. No, I didn't actually write today's Badger magazine on it. Number one, I should have done that. Next time we do one of these chalkboard ones, we'll do that. That's a good idea. We'll put some notes on the chalkboard for the next time we do one. But that's essentially what they were. But it is a cool piece, and just like Bill's Pepsi one, they all have the brand across the top, and nice bright colors and a neat piece. So something a little different. Thought we'd throw it up there for tonight and check that out. Anyway, what else has been going on? Hopefully you all saw the picture of Jess's Nash that I did post after last week since she got it picked up. Got a nice picture of her giving her Nash a big hug after it got loaded. So if you missed that, I posted it on both Facebook and YouTube, so you can go check that out. Big Job says those were great for the house or the shop. Needs to get one to hang in his kitchen for the little woman. Good point, Dan. They usually have the pie of the day on them. You're going to make everybody hungry. You start talking about pie, you'll get everybody excited. So, yeah, I guess good thing I didn't write the pie of the day. I don't want an apple or cherry or something. Then everybody be getting hungry tonight. So, everybody be bailing off to go get a snack. Yeah, James said he saw the picture of the Nash. So, yeah, hopefully a lot of you seen it. If not, be sure to go check it out. She was excited about it. And really excited to have it to where she can get started on it. What's today's pie? pumpkin for California, or pumpkin for Thanksgiving. Yep, no pie today. I had chicken noodles tonight, so fortunately I wasn't thinking about pie when I put it up. So anyway, if you did miss the picture of the Nash, be sure to check that out. What else has been going on? It's been a bonkers week just trying to get cars shipped out for everything that's sold on the internet, and plus just trying to play catch up. But I was definitely not short of things to do, but we've got most cars out. We've got a few of them still in storage from the F&E Collector Auto Auction last weekend. So, but that kept me really, really busy. How can I think that CA is Californian? I just seen the CA, and that was the first thing that popped into my head. So that not thinking about some of you guys are from Canada that are hanging out here with us. So, yeah, that was my bad. That was just the first thing that popped into my head, since that's the typical abbreviation for that as well. So that's what I did this week, was played catch up and then shipped cars. Plus went to one auction. If you caught that video, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Big Job says drink specials for Crown Royal instead of Royal Crown. So not always a bad idea there either, Big Job. But what else is going on in the old car world this week? Where you sell me a 60s shortness shift tailgate. Just depends on which one you need and things like that, for which bed and what I've got and things like that. But yeah, I've got tons of tailgates. I sell them all the time. Hot Rod Shop, does craft dinner come with the pie? Not tonight. So short bed, there again, depends if it's step or fleet. I mean, because they're different. So the best thing to do is give me a shout, after or tomorrow, and give me all the details of what you want. Okay, for a step side, I'll have to write you down on my notepad and see what I've got left. I've got stacks of tailgates in one of my buildings. So just best thing to do is give me a shout so I can put you on my notepad, or I won't remember to check it. Number one, RC and CR is deliciousness. I guess that's a good way to put it, number one. But what else has been happening? Mecum had a sale this weekend. Vegas was this weekend. Went through some of the results of it last night when I was getting things ready. Once again, just like we've been seeing across the board, just like we saw here last weekend, just like we've been seeing everywhere, you go through the results and almost everything is stamped sold. Not a lot of stuff in the bid goes on category. So it, like I said, it's just the market continues to stay strong. The numbers continue to stay strong. Joel's on with us. Not getting any comments feeding on Facebook. So if anybody's commenting on Facebook, has commented on Facebook in the last 4 or 5 minutes, it has not been feeding me. So just letting everybody know. And as always, if you're on the Nobody's Show page on Facebook, I cannot see those comments. So if you're on the Nobody's Show page just on Facebook, that is a shared live from the Nobody Else's Auto page. So if you want to comment or participate in trivia, you need to be on the Nobody Else's Auto page on Facebook or the Nobody Show channel on YouTube. So just a reminder there. And as always, if we get any trolls on here, you guys are great about running them off. So I always appreciate your support and helping that. They're trying to get my attention. I need to ignore them, but you guys are great about running them off and making sure they know they're not welcome here. So I always appreciate that. Joe, the air cleaner you called about the other day, Joe. Okay, yeah, got that. Number one, you lost me on that one. I'm not sure where you're going with that one. So Joe says we're working fine. Okay, so Facebook is still ticking along. We just weren't getting fed anything there for a minute. So, but like I said, flip through some of the results from Mecum just out of curiosity to see what's been going on. They had some cool stuff and some stuff that. Oh, that's right. Number one, BW's Garage. Yeah, and Kim. Okay, they're new subs. That's right. They were here with us last week. That's right, James. We talk about hot rods and horsepower stuff. So Johnny Nitro made it on with us tonight. My buddy Johnny Nitro. Glad he's on with us. Ain't talked to him in a while. Bill says Mecum is on right now on NBCSN. Lee made it tonight. Lance from Utah. BW's Garage did make it. There's our answer, number one. So glad you guys all made it back again. But some of the cool stuff I did notice from Meekum in Vegas, as we continue to see, and we saw more of it this weekend, 73 to 79 Ford pickups. Jerry's on Facebook. Glad you made it. If you've been with us hanging out for a while, here was it a year ago? Was it a year and a half ago? I don't remember. A little over a year ago, I think I bought a 78 F Super Cab that was almost identical to the one that my dad had when I was a kid that we used to haul cars with. And the crazy part about it is the 73 to 79 Ford pickup market is just going bonkers. Number one, have you ever seen the side-mounted air cleaner on a mid-60s Ford straight six? I think so. It seems like it. So, Joel, any 66 Scout doors, don't have any early Scouts at all. I've got a hard top for one from the 60s, and I've got a 79 Scout. It's all I've got in stock for Scout stuff at all. But like I said, all the 73 to 79 Ford pickup stuff I saw at Meekum was strong. They even had a really cool 79 Bronco that was Coyote swapped, which looked like a super cool build. Done up two-tone tan and brown, looked just about like a 79 Bronco, except it had a custom grill in it, but it was Coyote swapped. But it brought a $140,000. So, and a lot of those 73 to 79 Ford pickups, if they were nice trucks, they were all in the 30s, the way it looked from what I saw. So once again, those continue to be strong, and starting to see more and more of these 80s and 90s pickups showing up at these collector auto auctions. They're hot, and a lot of people are trying to get them while they can, and they're great. They're great trucks. They made tons of them, but finding good ones anymore is really getting hard. So we're seeing more and more of those show up, and the numbers are getting better and better. They continue to get strong, and like I said, I think market's got a good future. Kim's on with us. Glad you're here, Kim. Big job. Big money for us Ford guys. My son and two nephews each want one down the road. So that's right. Johnny Nitro says a Broncoyote. That's right. That's kind of what it was. So a lot of that stuff going on. That pickup stuff it's shifting. Pickups have been hot, and they just keep shifting and shifting and shifting to the newer stuff. As well as some of the 4th gen F-body stuff. We've talked about that a lot on here. The 4th gen F-body GM platform of the Firebirds and Camaros from 93 to 02. Starting to see some of those cars tick up. We've talked about it on here before when I bought that 02 WS6 Ram Air convertible this summer, about what that stuff has started doing. We're starting to see some of that reflected in auction numbers, even in some of the LT powered cars, or some of the special edition stuff. And that's, like I said, they're starting to get old. 93 to 02. 93 is almost 30 years old, as crazy as that sounds. So, David says, weird, didn't get a YouTube notification, but Facebook's working. Well, at least you're on. At least you caught up with us. So we got that much going for us. So that's what I watch that market pretty close. I've got a lot of those cars in that 4th gen F body, even several good ones that I've got kind of rad hold, and they're ticking up. Something else that's been holding strong, they had 1 or 2 Ford GTs, and those cars are getting even higher, I think. A few things that stood out individually as far as some pretty cool highlight vehicles, so to speak, besides the Broncoyote, as Johnny Nitro calls it. Let's see, what do we got popping up here? Hot Rod Shop. I have 86 Bullnose, only one I could get my hands on. Oh, only one I get his hands on. BW's Garage on early 60 C10 lowered, really sharp truck. Oh, original paint. You can tell it wasn't fake patina. That is something else too. Yeah, that it was actually real faded paint. Maria, leave my truck to my grandson someday. 82 Chevy long bed, had a 63 long bed step truck. Kept the bed, gonna swap it out. Jason's Garage is on with us. Jim made it. Glad you made it. Robert had a 79 Bronco with a freewheeling package. I remember that's something else I hadn't thought about. Psychedelic yellow, orange, and red reflective stripes in the center. Who remembers that package on those 79 Fords? I believe it was available on the pickup as well, the freewheeling package. something else cool. Maddie's on with us. Glad Maddie's here tonight. So that's, like I said, kind of crazy to think about that stuff's getting that old and collectible. Richard's on Facebook. David's got Stomper toys from the 70s, and one of those is a Bronco. Yeah, and there again, those toys are getting collectible as well. Jason's Garage #1 just told him about the channel, so he joined on. Great, glad you're here, Jason's Garage. Thanks #1 for throwing those notifications out there and bringing some of your buddies on to help hang out with us. So, but a few of the vehicles that stood out besides the Bronco Coyote at Meekum this weekend was and this was something kind of different. Randy made it. Glad you made it, Randy. Marie's first car was a '69 Falcon. So this was something kind of different. Obviously, the Impala market's been crazy. Anybody that's paid attention to anything knows that the Chevy Impalas are going nutso. And they had a 59, which obviously are crazy hot anyway. 59 Impala two-door hardtop. That was a fuelie. Now, I don't know how many of you were aware of that, but fuel injection was still available on 59 Chevrolets. However, only a handful ever made it out of the factory. Absolutely nothing about this ad stated that this car was an actual fuelie. So I seriously doubt that it was. It was probably maybe a late 58 unit or something somebody found, but they made it. It was a black 59 Impala hardtop fuel injected. Neat looking car with a 4-speed. But like I said, it did not advertise it as an actual documented fuelie, but still kind of neat, something different. It did have fuel injection emblems on it. There were fuel injection emblems out there for 59s. I've never seen them. Old Cars Weekly did an article on a 59 Bel Air two-door post, Biscayne or Bel Air two-door post that somebody had known back in the day that somebody had bought new, and they had a few pictures of it and had some documentation. But the emblems were long gone, so I don't know if the emblems on this car were supposedly what the 59s had or not. But regardless, it was a neat car. And obviously they're crazy. 59s are crazy hot anyway. And but it hammered at $132, so $132,000, pretty good chunk of change. But there again, your basic 59 Impala is $60 or $70,000 right now. So you got to kind of put that into perspective as well. Several comments popping up here. Let me catch some of these. Brandon had a 79 F-250 High Boy. Those are cool. #1 just dipped out to collect some more new dudes. Well, thanks. Appreciate that, #1. Yes, Jason, it was just a basic mechanical unit. Like I said, I'm guessing somebody found a late dated 58 unit is what they were using on it, but that's just my guess. Let's see. Marie had a 78 F-250 Super Cab, 78 Ford Super Cab like mine. Those old mechanical units, were they not hard to tune? I think they were impossible to tune. Obviously, I've never messed with them. I've owned one. I owned a 58 unit, just the unit. Never had it on a car, but I did come up with a 58 unit and a load of parts that I had bought a few years ago. The stories that I've heard is they were a nightmare. They were mechanically driven off of the tack. If you see a distributor, they were mechanically driven off the distributor, just like the tack was. So if you see a distributor that's got two drives off the side of it, it's a fuel unit distributor, one for the tack, one for the fuel unit. So they were not precise. They were difficult to tune. They were not good. And in all honesty, a lot of them got taken off and replaced with carburetors. So they were not. You've got to know those units very well to make them work right. So yeah, they were a pain. Let's see. What else we got? I got a bunch of stuff popping up. I missed a few of these, so I apologize. Kim, Jason's Garage are on with us. Let's see. #1, 6872 A-body frames. I've got several of them. Just depends on which one you need, because there are several different 6872 A-body frames. That's exactly right. Just like we were talking about Jason's Garage, a lot of them were removed and carburetors put on because they were not good, dependable units. You're trying to run your entire fuel system off of a cable being driven by the distributor. So when you put that all together, you've got your distributor running off your cam. You've got a little bit of play here, a little bit of play there. And then you've got a cable running off the distributor that's got to go run by the distributor and then go manually actuate the system. So a lot of things in there that just were not good. It's what they had at the time because we talked about a few weeks ago, the electrojection, the Bendix electrojection that Chrysler did attempt to use. The electronics were not up to snuff for that era. They made, somebody said 35 of them. They were all recalled because the electronics couldn't keep up. So yeah, they were not a good quality unit. They were a cool piece, but drivability wise, not by far, not that great. So half-ass rat rods made it tonight. 63 Rambler wagons. Do not have any 63 Rambler wagons at all right. In fact, I don't have any 63 Ramblers at all right now. James, is Meekum still going on till Monday or Tuesday? I think Vegas is done. I think it was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They're probably playing some rerun stuff from this weekend, but I think Vegas was a 3-day deal. Let's see. Oh, Jason's getting a 71 Cutlass to make a tribute 442. He needs parts. Let's see. Rico and Jess made it tonight. I'm trying to keep up with comments. Like I said, I got a lot of stuff feeding between the two formats, so I'm sure I've missed a few of these, but they're popping in here. Jason's Garage, if you can believe it, I've seen the whole Rochester unit up on Marketplace for $6,000. Yeah, if it's got a distributor, that's about right. That's about retail on it. If it's got the distributor and the air cleaner and everything, $6,000 for one of those late 50s units is about right. Were the problems uneducated mechanics or faulty technology? Primarily just faulty technology, because like we talked about, you've got your distributor running off your cam, and then you've got that running up through the shaft as it's turning to run a cable, similar to just like your tack drive, similar like a speedometer cable. Just that you got one side running a tack, which is just running the needle on the tack essentially. The other side's got to run the fuel injection unit. So just a lot of moving parts, and you talk about a lot of moving parts, and you get a little bit of play or a little bit off in all those little moving pieces, and by the time you're trying to run that fuel injection unit, you can end up way off really quick. So that's that was what a lot of it was, just too many moving mechanical parts that you get a little bit of play, a little bit of wear, a little bit of slop, a little bit of out adjustment, and it just ain't going to run right. So I think, I don't think the units were that extremely difficult. I just don't think the technology was up to snuff to run that unit. But like I said, I've never worked on one personally. I've never messed with one personally. I've owned one unit, but never had it on a car, never even attempted to put it on a car, never even thought about putting it on a car. So I can't tell you for sure because I've never done it, but that's kind of what it seems like. So let's see. Jason's Garage says he didn't say he bought the Cutlass yet. So James and the tacks were probably way off also. I think they were probably a little bit, but you got to remember that thing was just running essentially the needle of the tack. So you weren't running a big unit with multiple things going on like you are in a fuel injection unit. So I'm sure they were off, but probably not as far off as trying to run an entire unit off of it. Number one, they had phenolic base plates and intakes that warped under abnormal engine temps. That could be true. So yeah, there's just a lot of different issues with those fuel units. So like I said, something you don't see very often is seeing a fuel unit on a 59 Chevy full-size car, because there just were not a lot of them out there. Or maybe somebody had an extra Corvette unit that was dated 59 that they went with, but something different, something unique. And obviously with 59 Chevys being crazy hot anyway, that's definitely kind of made it stand out a little more than the others. However, one of the coolest cars that I thought was there as I was flipping through, that's right, Jim, shorter cable than the speedometer cable. It wasn't like a big, huge, 4 or 5 foot long cable, but it still had a lot of room for error. Ironhead made it tonight. Glad you're here. But the one other thing we're going to catch about Meekum, one of the coolest cars that I thought was there before we move on. And this thing was gorgeous and it was awesome. And it's something you never, ever see. They sold a 1960 Chrysler station wagon. Big red one, beautiful car, 56 grand. And just thought it was super, super neat. Was super excited about it. Just really, really stood out. There again, I'm flipping through pages and pages of hundreds of cars, and that thing jumped out at me and stood out by its own. Because when's the last time you seen something like that? Neat car. So, like I said, you can always go check those results out and take a look at some of the pictures yourself. But they did have some cool stuff. So, what else is going on? Okay, BW's and Ironhead Garage, or Jason's Garage, they're all on there with us. So, what else has happened? How about some industry trends? I saw an article the other day that kind of stood out to me, talking a little bit about pickups, 80s and 90s pickups and the results that we saw. And this article that I saw on Haggerty kind of fit right into that. So I thought we'd catch it a little bit because it kind of, there again, we're talking about trends in the hobby, what's going on in the hobby. And this pickup thing, this shift in this pickup thing, the shift in a lot of these cars that we're seeing led me to this article. Big job. His dad had a brand new 73 Highboy, and he had 78, 79 F350s, but been keeping his 94 F357 3. Yeah, those were great trucks. Oh, and he's even got an OJ Bronco. Yeah, that's right. Number one, 1960 Town and Country with the fins that block the rear windows. That's not too far off. Those fins almost do block the rear windows on that car. Robert likes the dashboards in that car too, and they did have a great shot of the dash in that car. So, yeah, those were neat. It was a cool car. But anyway, keeping up with the trends that we're seeing changing and the pickup market that we're seeing changing led me to this article. When I saw it pop up on Haggerty, it actually kind of shocked me because it's something I used to watch pretty closely but had not watched in the last couple of years. And there have been some big changes in the market on these particular pickups. Obviously, like a lot of you know, was it the Globe Dash? Yeah, I think it was kind of the globe-shaped dash. They were pretty cool, number one. So you can check the pictures out on Meekum.com and check out and look that 60 Chrysler wagon over because it was awesome. But as a lot of you know, I've got a Viper, and I've been a Viper fan forever. When the Viper came out, I was in high school. Obviously, the thing was earth-shattering in the car world to put, a 400 horse V10 in a tiny little sports car, in the early 90s when we were just starting to see signs of performance starting to come back from the big three. And then, Dodge smacks everybody upside the head with a Viper. And then, of course, when I went to Chrysler straight out of college in 97, every dealership I went to that I worked in always had a new Viper on the showroom floor. So that Gen 2 Viper has always been one of my favorites, and that's what I bought was a Gen 2. But the SRT 10 Rams, which was the Ram pickup when they put the Viper engine in them for 3 years. And I never really got into them. And for years, they were basically worth what the motor was worth. About 15 grand, because that's about what a good Viper motor was worth if it had decent mileage. And that's what a lot of those trucks were bringing for several years, and they just never really caught on. And I saw this article pop up, and obviously we talk a lot about what the pickup market is doing. We talk a lot about the shifts in the market. And this trend fit right in with it. So let's talk a little bit about it. There's a black and white picture of it, not a real good one. I'll hold it up so you guys can see it in case you don't remember what these trucks looked like. But they were Viper V10 powered SRT Ram pickups. Now, in today's world, a high-performance pickup isn't a big deal. Even back then, Ford was making the Lightning. Chevrolet had the SS package Silverados with the 6 liters in them. So there was a little bit there again. There was a little bit going on in the performance pickup world, but then Dodge drops a V. Kind of like now they'll put a Hellcat motor in anything that'll sit still long enough to put one in it. They were Chevy and Ford had some performance-based pickups, but Dodge throws a Viper motor in one. And now with the TRX trucks and the Raptors and all that stuff, it's somewhat common. But this was kind of different back then. And that's right. The V10 was available in a work truck too, although it was a completely different engine. And that's right. Jason's Garage. I always feel it kind of like those trucks faded out. Well, that's what we're going to talk about, because they did fade out. And that's when they were kind of, like I said, essentially worth what the Viper motor was worth for several years. But that apparently is changing, and I hadn't been keeping abreast of it. So we're going to talk about what this information in this Haggerty article was. Hot Rod Shop, the truck motors were cast iron blocks. That is correct. The truck V10 was absolutely nothing the same as the Viper V10, other than the fact that it was a V10. The Viper V10 was developed by Lamborghini because at the time, Lamborghini was a subsidiary of Chrysler. And I don't know how many of you know, but the Viper was, Carroll Shelby was actually involved in the development of the Viper concept. The Viper was designed to be a late model, new generation Cobra. That's why the first Vipers didn't even have windows. It was to be a small, nimble sports car with the biggest motor they could stuff in it, just like the 427 Cobras. That was Carroll Shelby's entire intent. That was why he was involved in the project. That is what led to the development of the Viper. And actually, the Viper V10 was designed prior to the truck V10, and there's essentially absolutely nothing the same about either one of them, other than I think they're similar size and similar bore and stroke and things like that, but they don't share any components. They don't share anything other than the same similar basic layout and platform. Let's see. Kind of like the Bumblebee version trucks too. Yeah, you don't see a lot of those anymore either. Doug and Jill Prayer here with us. Glad you guys are on with us. But the SRT10 pickups, like I said, just like Jason's Garage said, they kind of faded out, and that's kind of what that's what had happened to them. So they're essentially worth what the Viper motor was worth. They only lasted for 3 years. I think 04, 5, and 6. I think they made them. And it says in this article, it is a persistent myth that the Viper's V10 was pulled from the heavy-duty Ram truck, but the Viper engine actually debuted first. The truck V10, other than sharing bore spacing and displacement, is with early Vipers, it's completely different. While developing the V10, Chrysler relied on Lamborghini because it was part of Chrysler at that time. When they did that, the SRT-10 became one of the quickest pickups ever built. The initial SRT-10s were launched in 04, 13 years after the Viper was introduced. The first year, they were all regular cab short bed with a 6-speed. Now, by the end of the production, in fact, in 05 already, and available throughout 06 before they killed the project, it was available with an automatic in quad cab versions as well. And here's where we're starting to see some things shift in these as well. It says back in 2019, Haggerty put the SRT-10 on their bull market list, even though prices were still dropping at that point. But it had all of the hallmarks of a future collectible, including high performance and low production. And then it says things have changed in the last 2 years on the SRT-10s. They're showing them up 46% in the last couple of years from what they're 46% for regular cabs, 11% for quad cabs, and putting these trucks up in the $30,000 and $40,000 range. Notable sales includes Meekum Indy 2021, where a 245-mile truck brought $68,000. A 1,500-mile example brought $80,000 on Bring a Trailer in January. So there again, the shifts that we're seeing in these trends is this market is changing, and we talk about it on here a lot. I can't talk about it enough. That things are changing in this hobby. That's right, Jason's Garage. The 5.9 RT Dakotas and Durangos were cool too. I actually had a 5.9 Durango for a company car when I worked for Chrysler for a while, so very familiar with those trucks as well. Yes, there was a 5.9 Durango. Had one for a company car. I had a black one for, 3 or 4 months as a company car. But different trim, same wheels as the 5.9 Dakota. Those were great trucks too as well. So thanks for bringing that up, Jason's Garage. But this entire hobby is shifting, and we need to be cognizant of that. These kids that are getting into the hobby, and a lot of people say the hobby's dead, kids don't care. Well, you're wrong. Anybody that says kids don't care are wrong, but they like different things, and we need to be aware of that. And this is the type of stuff that is showing that, as this stuff from the now early 2000s is ticking up. Just like these SRT-10 trucks, they're going up. Just like we've talked about on it before when I bought that WS6 Ram Air 02 Trans Am. This stuff is ticking up. It is different. It's a different market, and things are shifting and changing, but it's got a bright future. We just got to be aware of that. and know that that it is different. And there's going to be people that these people are coming into this hobby that have different likes than what we may or may not be used to. We need to be aware of that and welcome them into the hobby with what's going on. Let's see. A couple comments we're missing here. Big Job's got a 75 International fire truck with 6,000 miles that if anybody needs a wedge truck or a toy hauler, that'd be a cool one. The new Jeep SRTs are hot. Yeah, those are pretty cool. That's right. Big Job needs to sell his International so he can come get this this Super Duty Ford that's got his name on it. So that's right, Jason's Garage. 80s cars. We've been talking a lot about the 80s and 90s stuff, and we're starting to see that trend into the early 2000s as well now. So Sam's on here with us. That's right, Jason's Garage. GNXs are well into six-figure territory, especially the low-mileage examples. So that's the GNX market is already crazy. The regular Grand National market is going up and up and up and up, which I don't have yet, which is what I want. One of the things I always wanted was a Grand National. I've not bought one yet. Something I need to get done. And even Doug Prey's on with us, and Doug and Jill, so keep young people interested. That's right. And then Doug's an expert on the heavy classic stuff. He owns the factory, Auburn, Cord, and Duesenberg. And but that's right. We've got to be cognizant of that. And Doug is like I said, one of the best in these heavy classics, and understands that market as well. And he also understands what is coming up and what we need to be aware of. So that's right. Hot Rod Shop. A lot of the 80s stuff got crushed. That's for sure. So let's see. Jason's Garage paid $5,000 for an 87 Monty SS in 2019. And that's right. You can't touch one for that now. So something else to check out. So, with Doug, since Doug Prey's on, let's be sure to check out Auburn Cord Duesenberg Company. Check out what they've got going on. They've been putting with what's going on Facebook. They have some awesome stuff there. They do some awesome work, and they have some awesome cars. So glad Doug's on with us, and be sure to check those guys out as well. Great friends of ours. Love to go down and visit them. Love to visit the factory. So be sure to check out the Auburn Cord Duesenberg factory and see what they've got going on down there, because it's amazing. Some of the cars they work on down there are breathtaking. That's literally the only way to put it. So definitely look at that stuff. Anyway, we better keep moving on here. And how about time for a badge, emblem, or ornament tonight? Anybody want to see a hood ornament tonight? Hot Rod Shop Mother had a 5-speed 87 EXP and loved that car. Even though they're junk, you can't find one. And that's right. Those little EXPs were kind of neat little cars. They were as sporty as you could get for the era in a little economy car. But you're right. They were kind of neat. That's right. Exactly. And that's what Robert says. We need more people to understand we must engage this next generation because they want to be noticed. And that is 100% correct. They want involved. They want to be involved, but a lot of them have different tastes than what some of our traditional concepts are of the collector car hobby. So, I mean, and I get on a soapbox on that probably sometimes too often. But it needs to be addressed. It really does, because we all need to be cognizant of it. We all need to be aware of it. And we all need to welcome that kid when they show up with a 98 Dodge pickup at the cruise night car show, car club meeting, because they want to fix it up and make it cool. Just because it's something that we may think is a used car, to them, that's something old and cool and different. And that's what they remember people driving when they were kids, just like the baby boomers remember their parents driving 50s and 60s cars. So that's what we all got to be aware of, be cognizant of, and welcome them into the hobby. Don't alienate them. Don't ask why they've got new junk here. They want to be involved, and we need to welcome them so we don't run them off and they never come back to the hobby, because that will kill the hobby. If we alienate this generation because we don't think what they have is cool, we will kill the hobby. So that's something we all have to be very, very careful about. We're ready for hood ornaments and badges. Dan heard the GNX around him with under 100 miles on it, but it's not for sale. Big Job says, as long as we don't have to distill liquor for gasoline, that's a good point too. That's right. We have different tastes, Rat Rods, but in the end, we're all vehicle junkies. That's right. Bill, bring out the Rolls Royce hood ornament. I don't have a Rolls Royce hood ornament, so we don't have to worry about that. Even things like Sunday Night Live Chat. Thanks, Jason. And that's right. Number one's making sloppy joes if anybody's hungry. So we've been doing badges. I've heard some requests for hood ornaments, so we're going to do a hood ornament tonight. I've got it right here. We're going to take a look at this one, and it was a light-up one originally, I do believe. Johnny Nitro just makes it real simple. You want to hot rod anything, he's cool with it. Great, and it's a great way to put it. It's a perfectly great way to put it, because that's part of what makes the hobby interesting. Nope, it's not a Delta 88 hood ornament. But like I said, I do think this one lit up. This was an accessory hood ornament that did light up in its day. Maddie says that includes Hondas and Toyotas, and there's people that like that. It ain't my deal. I don't get into that stuff, but I know there's people that do love it. Thanks, Big Job. I don't know if I quite deserve that title, but Big Job says, amen to our pastor of iron and oil, Father Chad. So, but tonight's hood ornament, this was a pretty cool one. Like I said, it was an accessory. This is a 1946 to 1948 Plymouth hood ornament. This did have the big plastic connector. I think it lit up. It was open at the bottom, so I think there was like a socket could snap into the hood right up under here. If we look close, I don't know if you guys can make it out or not. It kind of has the ship's sails in it, like the Plymouth, did have, for years and years and years. It has some ribs back in here. This is an original hood ornament and really still looks pretty decent for its age. Let's see, a couple more comments real quick before I miss them all, because I know I've missed several tonight. Nate, our good friend Nate, who's been hanging out with us, bought a 95 Ram about a month ago because I remember. Perfect example, 100% right. I'm going to go ahead and read this all because it runs right in with what we've just been talking about. Our good friend Nate, he was at the auction last weekend. He hangs out with us. He does Rocky Mountain Race Week with us. He bought a 95 Dodge Ram about a month ago because he remembers going to the dealership with his dad to order a new Dodge back in the 90s. Perfect example of what we were just talking about. Doug Prey agrees with us on Facebook, but that's exactly right. That's exactly what we're talking about, because old cars evoke old memories and things that we want to remember, and they take us back to that time. And we're just looking at a whole new generation of it. And that's a perfect example, Nate. Thanks for sharing that. Jason's Garage, you remember Shelby's involvement on the 2.2 Dodge in the 80s? Absolutely. And we've actually talked about those on here before. They had some at Mecum, I think at Kissimmee this year. And we talked in depth about the GLH Omni, the Shelby Chargers. Those were cool little cars, and they're super, super hard to find today. But they are great cars. Hot Rod Shop got ahead and said Pontiac when I said lighted. So, yeah, I thought somebody would probably do with that. That's right, Jason. We're all car people, and that's all it boils down to. Rat Rods has a light-up one on his 47 Gasser, but I don't have any idea what it's off of. Yeah, throw a picture up and we'll see. So, Johnny Nitro says it looks like an old Pierce Arrow, but that was kind of a cool piece. Like I said, 46 to 48 Plymouth, and it was a light up. It's a great piece. And like I said, I've got tons of this stuff. I love sharing it with you. And so we'll get some more hood ornaments. We'll definitely get another badge sometime worked in. But, something else, in case anybody's interested, I'm going to throw you a curveball. This ornament is actually not part of my personal collection. So this one is for sale if anybody wants it to add to their collection. So it's kind of a neat piece. And like I said, where you can kind of see the ship, and there again, you're talking, the plastic technology wasn't that great back in the late 40s. This one's held up really well, had the ship cast into it, and a neat piece. So that's right, Johnny Nitro, the old Cyclones and Typhoons. Those were super awesome too. That's right, Big Job Badge had to build a whole car around it. Yeah, he does some pretty creative stuff. So that's kind of a neat piece. Like I said, we'll keep working some more stuff in. These are so awesome. They were such a statement piece on the cars back then. They really stood out, and that's why I've got boxes of them. That I'm not smart enough to sell them because a lot of them are fairly valuable, but I have boxes of these that I've kept. But like I said, this one I'm probably going to let go of because it's not one that's in my personal stash, but it is a cool piece. Like I said, we'll keep working some of this stuff in. It is neat. Jason says he might be interested. That's fine. I think $150 for it shipped. So shipped in the U.S. I don't know what it would cost to ship to Canada for any of our Canadian friends, but I would ship it in the U.S. for that. But there again, like I said, neat piece. I'm glad you guys like the badges and ornaments. It's so cool and so much different stuff. But they were always a statement piece because then it mattered. The style mattered, and that was having a statement piece up front, especially one that lit up at night, was super cool. That's right. Rat Rods love hood ornaments. Actually, had I known, because I don't keep up on Canadian holidays, number one, I would have done a magazine from the 70s so we could have Wild Turkey, but we're actually going to have a magazine from the 60s tonight. So we struck out there. So I'll tell you what, we'll try to get something from the 70s next week to make up for it. Frank rode in his dad Willie's two-wheel drive, and now he's restoring one of those. So there again, we're just looking at the whole different shifts in the cycle, the shifts in the generations, and that's what's so important. Don't alienate any of these kids that show up with something from the 90s because they think it's cool and they want to fix it up. Big Job would like to find the perfect airplane 389 Pete. That'd be interesting. So, that being said, let's get rolling into tonight's magazine. Jason's got a Pontiac one with a clear chief head. I don't really remember. Oh, 56 was a clear head. Well, actually, 56 was more of a plain hood ornament. It actually didn't actually have a head, but 56 had a clear insert. I thought about all the Indian chief heads I remember seeing were always amber. What do I think about the T-Bird Celine at the auction? I missed that one. That one I did not catch, so I missed that in the results. But anyway, tonight's magazine, we're going to go back to one we haven't looked at in a while, and one that doesn't have a ton of car stuff in it. So, but it have a couple of good articles and a lot of cool ads, because this was kind of a lot of different things. We're going to go back to a popular mechanics, and we've done some popular mechanics before. They usually have a few car articles in it and a whole bunch of other weird stuff for the time, but we'll touch on a little bit of that stuff as well. But here it is, Popular Mechanics, October 1964, highlighting the 65 model year cars. 65 Impala and a 65 Galaxy on the front cover, both in red. Probably just for the newsstand. I almost guarantee you those cars were bright red for the sole reason so that when people would grab it on the newsstand so that it would stand out when people were walking by and checking that were on the stand that month. So we'll go ahead and get into this one and check out the articles on the 65 cars. Like I said, Popular Mechanics had a ton of stuff in it. Sometimes it was pretty weird too. So, but there was a little bit of everything in Popular Mechanics. This one had like a jetpack in it, and I mean, literally some weird stuff like that. Boats and household home stuff, a little bit of everything. But obviously, we're going to focus on the car stuff. So we're going to go ahead and flip to how the 1965 cars compare right there with a Corvair sloshing through the water. I don't know what the significance of sloshing through the water was, but that's how they chose to kick off the article for how the 65 cars compare. So I guess that's where we're going to go with. But this is how the 65 cars compare. This is what really stood out. Obviously, in this era, still not a lot of color in these magazines. Almost everything black and white. Big Job has one of those Galaxies in the garage. LNNC 65 finally Impala got a useful frame, yeah, except they had a tendency to rust. I don't think they were the best design frame for rust prevention. But when we flip the page on this 65 stuff, like I said, for a lot of these magazines still doing primarily black and white, had a pretty nice full color spread showing off multiple vehicles in here and talking about them. Like I said, for as little color as we saw back in the day, this was a pretty big deal to get these all the way out, get these out there with all these color pictures talking about some of this stuff. 65 Buick, 65 Sport Fury, 65 Mercury, 65 Starfire. So 65 Monaco. Different situations, different pictures. The Monaco's all the way up in the air, coming up over a hill under speed. So that's right, big job. The 65, 66 Ford frames weren't that great either. So, like I said, just some really nice color shots on the 65 models. And we even flipped the page again. And once again, another nice batch of color pictures. 65 Pontiac, 65 Mercury, 65 Rambler, 65 Valiant. Just some really nice, good shots, different action shots, things to check out on these 65 model year vehicles. Big Pontiac's perimeter frames now taper on the end. Even Comet is picked up over and under headlights. Cyclone gets special grille treatment. So just some different tidbits about the different vehicles. Let's see. Jason's Garage. Remember flipping through a CarCraft mag one time, and there was a guy who owned a 65 Impala 4-door bench seat with a 4-speed and a 427 on red interior, steels, and a dog dish. Really, that'd be a really unique car. Lori drives a beige 65 Newport. Yeah, the 65 Newports are cool. I just picked that one up a couple months ago. Didn't realize how good looking those 65 Newports really were. It was all, the 60 Impala was all ordered that way. Yeah, back then you could order some weird stuff, and they would build it. As crazy as it is. GTO changed headlights that year as well. Same basic shell, 64 and 65, but they did change the nose to stacked headlights. The next part of this article on the 65 cars, this was kind of interesting. I know a lot of us remember this, but actually had an article on the Thunderbird taillights. Now, why did they have a little blip on the Thunderbird taillights? If we remember, that was the one where it came on in 3 sections, where it says, it actually gives a breakdown where it's starting to turn, then it's got 2 blocks lit, then all 6 of them are lit. And I'm sure a lot of us remember how it would dink, 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 as that was your turn signal as it lit across the back of that light on the 65 Thunderbirds. Obviously been used in multiple other applications since then. But in 1965, pretty big deal. Obviously was worthy of a half page in Popular Mechanics just on how the turn signals work. So something kind of cool and kind of different. Sequential, that's right. Big job sequential ones. And that's right, Rat Rods had a 65 T-Bird first year disc brakes. We're going to get into that here in just a minute as well. In fact, they actually call them mountain and waterproof brakes is what they called them in 1965. What car designer thought Band-Aid was a good color for a car or truck? I don't know. But as we get into the full article, just basically entitled The 65s, and it does talk about disc brakes, and I'm sure that's where they're going with disc brakes when it says mountain and waterproof brakes, because there's a section coming up on disc brakes that I had noted that we were going to talk about as we get into this section on the 65s. Now, what was new technology in 65 that they were talking about in this article? Does have a little blurb about the fastback Mustang, obviously a slipperier design that over the standard coupe that had been out prior to that. But something else that we even look at today as far as tire and wheel packages, and this was kind of interesting. Big switch to low-profile tires isn't for show. It allows larger wheels and consequently better brakes. During lab tests equivalent to 120 mile per hour under 1,020-pound load, squat heel low-profile tire developed less traction wave or distortion than the old-style tire. So there again, obviously we see huge tire and wheel packages on some stuff, and almost every vehicle out there anymore today has a 16 or 17-inch wheel on it. And, back then a lot of stuff was still pretty much 14-inch wheel was basically the standard over your drum brakes. When you get a rotor and you've got a caliper hanging off the road, some room in there to work, some room for that wheel to clear. So they're again starting to see the tickings of a lot of the technology we're familiar with today. Let's see, Brandon, 6667 Charger instrument cluster is a great idea. Hot Rod Shop likes the colors that Toyota's been using on their truck. And I don't follow much of Toyota stuff at all. So But some of the other stuff they were talking about, different features that were coming up in the 65 cars. And here's where we get into the disc brake situation, just like we were talking about a little bit earlier. The disc versus drum brake story, how stopping distances vary. And you got to remember, in 65, disc brakes had already been developed. You know, Tucker had them in 48, but nobody ever really took off and put them into production until 65. Obviously, Corvette had them in 65, and Thunderbird had them. So this was all completely new technology for the time, or as far as it wasn't new technology, but it was new as far as being in normal production, to the point where they actually gave an entire breakdown of the system, to explain the system, because this was new to your normal person. You know, it had been out there, but never in any volume. Had a chart to show the differences of how much better they were, had a breakdown of the systems, how it worked, how the caliper went around the rotor, how it compressed. I mean, literally broke it down because it was all new to most people. They didn't understand what disc brakes were, what it did, how it was going to operate. So they literally made a pretty big deal out of it. Of course, at that time, it was a pretty big deal. So then the next page, and there again, we're getting away from a lot of the color, but still some really cool stuff in here that they were showing, you know, some good outlines on. And there's a few interesting things that you question, because this is October of 64 for 65 models. So these pictures, you got to remember, this wasn't like today where you can take a picture on your phone and have it on the internet in 18 seconds. These pictures were shot probably 30 to 45 days prior to this going to print. So a lot of these were pre-production models. So were they clamp or piston disc brakes? I would just assume they were piston disc brakes, but I didn't get that far into it. Yeah, it shows a piston in the caliper on these. So Anthony, what's my favorite old truck? Who knows? There's so many different ones that I like. I mean, that's a pretty broad question. So let's see. Yeah, James, bad turn signal way ahead of time. That's right. They were, James, on that stuff too. But when we go to this page here, we're seeing there again, back to black and white photos, but a lot of features, just pointing out different features. It's kind of hard to see this one as it kind of in the crease, but the 65 Riviera with the clamshell headlights, they went to a stacked headlight on the 65 Riviera. The 63, 64 were beside each other in the grill. 65 went to the clamshell stacked, and then it showed a picture of the clamshell closed when they were off. Shows the new Cadillac, talked about how the fins were, continuing to get lower and, be a little cleaner than what they had been in the past. Telescoping wheel, there again, something we're pretty familiar with today, but it mentions the telescopic wheel as being there again, something a lot of people weren't familiar with. And, Cadillac was one of the only ones that really used a lot of it at that point in time. Roger's on from Australia. Glad you're here, Roger. Glad you're enjoying the show. But that's, there again, and we're looking back with 2020 hindsight. But one thing that really stood out to me in this particular segment right here was the picture of the Chevelle. Chevelle styling hasn't changed in 65 except for minor sharpening of the body trim, and you can get more power in the form of a 327 V8. But what I don't understand here is if we look at this real close at this picture, I don't know what these little ornaments are on here because I've never seen those on a 65 Chevelle. But like I said, these were probably pre-production photos, and I don't ever remember seeing these little pieces of trim making a production on any 65 Chevelle. So that's some other little interesting tidbits to keep your eyes peeled for when we're going through these old magazines, because you'll see little tidbits and little secrets that pop up that we may not be aware of. This page shows off the roof line of the Fastback Impala. Once again, a new body design for that year. And then the final breakdown, how the specifications changed for 65, and gives a whole big chart where it breaks everything down by make, model, wheelbase, and change. It gives wheelbase and changes compared to the previous model year, and then obviously then gets down into powertrain combinations, engines, transmissions, things like that. So it gives a big breakdown on all of that. Once again, a somewhat fairly easy comparison chart if you were in the new car market looking at the 1965s. Obviously, at the bottom of the page, we see the iconic Pontiac 8-lug wheel compared to the standard flipper hubcap that were both available for 65. So there again, pretty neat stuff to check out and look back in time on and see what they've got going on at that time. But says our wheel cover's obsolete. Pontiac's integral brake drum on wheel looks good and is practical. Open to the airstream. It dissipates heat fast. So one thing that I do find kind of interesting, though, is the if Robert's still on with us, he'll know this right away. They've got the early style 8-lug cap on that wheel that doesn't have the 65 cap on it. So it's kind of interesting when in a all new for 65 article that 8-lug has the older style cap on it. Jason's Garage. My dad had a 67 Monaco convertible. It was a beautiful looking car, but recently there was a 67 Monaco wagon. And wow, that was a great looking car for a wagon too. Yeah, the wagons have been so overlooked, and obviously, as you guys all know, I'm a wagon fanatic and always excited about wagons. And I'm glad that they are starting to get, some of the attention that I feel that they've been due for a really long time. So anyway, that was the new for 65 issue of Popular Mechanics. And that's primarily, there were a few other car articles in there, but that was primarily what the majority of the car stuff in. Other than, as we've seen before, when the new car issues come out, always a lot of great ads. So we're going to go ahead and I'm not going to worry about the other car type articles in here because there's a lot of great ads I want to catch in this one as well. So let's see. Bill says he's seen a photo of that 65 show out before. So I'd be curious to know what those were for. I'm sure they were just an ornamentation thing, but obviously did not make it to production. So kind of interesting. I thought 327s came out later than 65. I think 327 actually came out in 62. I'm almost positive 62 was the first year for the 327 because I think that's when Corvette went to the 327 was 62. Marie had a Pacer wagon like the one we had on the video the other night. So big job, like the magazine. Thanks, appreciate it. So let's check out some of the car ads. So like I said, when we do a new car issue in any of these magazines, there's always a lot of great ads because all the manufacturers are trying to get their models pumped out in that issue that anybody who's going to be thinking about buying a new car in 1965 is going to grab this issue. So all the manufacturers want their best stuff, put their best foot forward. The first ad we're going to look at, and this is all actually one of my favorite cars from the 60s. Personally, just like one of my favorite cars, but this is something I've always thought were a great looking car that I don't think ever really got the credit they deserve, was the 1965 Buick Wildcat. This one's a Tudor hardtop, kind of a 3/4 shot. I've always thought the 65 Wildcat was a good looking car. I always liked the fender vents that the 65 had. And so they're pretty cool. Buick for 65. We changed Wildcat a lot this year, and you may never be the same again yourself. So always thought those were a great looking car personally. Let's see. Number one, me and a buddy inherited a 76 Town and Country wagon in the late 80s and lit the dash on fire every time we started it. Well, I bet that was interesting to drive. Rat Rods, yeah, 62 was the first year of the 327. His dad ordered a new Corvette that year. That's what I was thinking. I thought 62 was right. So thanks for backing that up, Rat Rods. Big job. No taking to the Pacer to the drive-in when he was younger. That's true. There's a lot of glass in the Pacer. So number one says 60s Buick looked like spy cars. Yeah, that's true. Marie's favorite was her 69 Coronet. Big job. That was a fishbowl. Yeah, and Bill backed that up too. 62 was the first year for the 327. So thanks, guys. I appreciate that. That's what I was thinking. But I also don't want to lead anybody astray. So it's always great when you guys either either confirm or set me straight if I'm off on something. Next ad we're going to check out for 1965, the Mercury Comet. Once again, a black and white ad, but also showing some cool heritage in the background of the Comet ad. Let's see, Tim L. They're great riding cars, the 65 Wildcat. Yeah, the 65 Wildcat. I just always thought the 65 Wildcat was a great looking car. Now we're actually going to catch a couple of color ads. Some of the manufacturers stepped up for some color ads because, color was expensive back then. But Ford really went all out with a 2-page spread in all color, covering the Mustang, the Galaxy, the Fairlane, and the Falcon, all in this great-looking color ad for 1965. Obviously, the red fastback Mustang, the blue Galaxy, and it even looks like it's got LTD trim on that one. Yep. It does have LTD trim. And down at the bottom, they even got the Falcon and the Fairlane worked into this ad as well. So for the day, 2-page full color spread, pretty big deal. But made for a very nice ad, and it definitely stood out. There's no doubt about it. BW's Garage, 80s Country Squires. Yep. Maria's friend's dad had an orange Wildcat. Those are cool. Thanks, Jason's Garage. Appreciate the support of hitting the like button. Like I said, throw shares out there. Super chats are great. I mean, I still can't believe some of you guys have even hit me with super chats. It's just awesome that you guys enjoy hanging out, and we have such a great time on here. Let's see. That's right, Marie. Falcons were first before Mustang. The Falcon came out in 1960. So, do I think 67 was a good year for cars? Yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff in 67. And a lot of the stuff, everything shifted and changed all the time. So a lot of it's personal preference, but there are some 67s that I really like as well. The 67 A-body platform I like. I love the 67 Buick Grand Sport. That's another one of my favorites. So 67 GTO is a great looking car. I've actually got one of those if the guy ever gets to work on it. It's in another guy's shop that he's supposed to be working on, but has been for years, and I haven't seen the car in quite a while. But I do have a 67 GTO convertible that he's supposed to be doing for me. So I do like a lot of 67 stuff as well. I'm going to catch another color ad, actually, on the next page after the Fords was the GMC van. Now, these little things have really taken off. I've gotten a lot of calls for this stuff over the last year or two, something I never had before. Didn't really know anything about them. But the little flat, I call them a flat face van that GM had starting in 65, I believe, essentially a completely flat windshield. This one's the GMC version. Chevy had this basically almost an identical van. I've got one in the yard, one Chevy, and I also brought some pieces at home off of one of these from a salvage yard I stopped at here a month or so ago. So neat little vans they're again starting to get popular. There's something different, something that's been overlooked for years, and people are stepping back saying, hey, those are kind of cool. So Marie said she still knows where her 60 or 69 Falcon's at. It's in a salvage yard. You better go get it. That's for sure. If you want a chance to save it, you definitely probably ought to. Mercury Meteor, Barry, I know a little bit about them, but not much. I've done a little bit of research on them. I think I got a Meteor emblem. I think I bought a box of emblems, and I think there was a Newell stock Meteor emblem in there. So I did do a little bit of research on them, but I don't know a lot about them. Let's see. That's right. Big Job Mustang does owe the Falcon for its structure. That they did build that off of that unibody. So what else we got coming up for ads? Oh, this one was kind of cool, even though it's got an airplane in the ad, not a car. But as a lot of you know, if there's one thing I love almost as much as cars. So, but this was kind of different. Oh, thanks, Alan NC. Hit me with another super chat. I appreciate that. You've been great to me. That's awesome. And there again, I'm shocked. I'm still amazed that you guys even love this enough to throw some super chats up there. And still blows my mind that that people are willing to help out. But this Champion plug ad with the airplane in it, and what stood out about this, obviously Champion plugs. We looked at a lot of Champion ads before. But Jerry Mock, the first woman to circle the globe solo, used Champion spark plugs because Champions have no equal for dependability. That's why every major U.S. airline uses Champions. Why settle for less in your car? It's kind of weird that all major airlines use Champion spark plugs. How many commercial planes out there use spark plugs anymore? Not very many. So that's why that ad kind of stood out to me, thinking about advertising spark plugs for commercial airlines. So definitely times have changed in the aviation world as well. All right, we're going to flip towards the back of the magazine to get some more of these ads. And Ford actually stepped up again with another 2-page full-color ad, this time for their pickups. Look, 2 front axles, the twin I-beam suspension that Ford was using in their pickups at that time, obviously had a nice color picture of the pickup, but primarily focusing on the twin I-beam front suspension, giving a good visual, just like we looked at in some of the 65 articles with the disc brakes, giving the actual visual of what's happening in that suspension system. So there again, definitely stood out. Not a ton of color in this magazine. So for Ford to step up with 2 full 2-page color spreads, pretty good chunk of change at that point. But there again, they're going after the people that they know are picking up this issue, who are looking at new vehicles for the 1965 model year. That's right. Big job. Lee Iacocca saved a lot of Ford and Mopar. Lee Iacocca did a lot of amazing things at both places. And I got a pretty cool. And actually, I don't have the memorabilia. I've got a copy of a piece of paper that was a really super cool piece that involved Lee Iacocca. I need to get out for you guys one of these days. Yeah, Jason's garage, can't imagine a spark plug fouling up at 20,000 feet in the air. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. So, let's see what else we got coming up here. Advertisement-wise, another company that we're very familiar with in today's world still, how to improve a tune-up without even trying. The pieces that are available from the Holley Carburetor Company. They had almost a half page here on this whole column showing off tune-up parts, believe it or not. Obviously, we've got a coil, points, rotor, condenser, and a cap over there on the other side. So, literally showing off a line of tune-up products more so than carburetors. So that's right. Number one, if you can find a better quality car, you should buy it. Iacocca talking about the K car. That was 100% right. The K car did save Chrysler. The K car platform spawned some amazing stuff, including the now iconic, although not most exciting, but iconic minivan platform came out because of the K car. A lot of cool stuff happening because of that. And there again, the K cars that were disposable, throwaway, completely overlooked, and in today's world are kind of tough to find, including, just like we talked about a little earlier, the Shelby Chargers, the Shelby GLH cars, all that little Chrysler stuff from the 80s, overlooked, thrown away, and now tough to find. Next ad we're going to look at, it's black and white, but it actually has one of my all-time favorite cars in it. I don't right now. I did have one, sold it several years ago before I ever got it restored. But great car. And like I said, definitely one of my all-time favorites. Number one, Chrysler minivan inventor got fired from Ford for trying to pitch a smaller van. Yeah, I remember reading about that they absolutely wanted nothing to do with it. Thought it was a horrible idea. Thought everybody was crazy for even discussing it. This next ad is black and white. It's 2-page and literally has one of my favorite cars in it of all time. It is a Pontiac ad. And there we go. The 65 GTO on the bottom. And actually, believe it or not, that is not my favorite car. The 2+2 above it has always been, for a really long time, one of my favorite cars. I thought the 65 2+2 was a very, very well done car. A lot of great features. Obviously, this one showcasing the 8-lug wheels. Front wheels are kind of turned. You can't really see. We can see the better shot of the 8-lug wheels. The fender gills, which were 2+2. The 421 badging on the front fender. The 2+2 on the rear quarters. Like I said, absolutely one of my favorite all-time cars. I thought they were a beautiful car. I thought they had great lines, and they always stood out. Now, 65 GTO, no slouch either. Don't get me wrong. 65 GTO is a great-looking car. This one features the Rally 1 wheels that were optional in 65, and it's a great ad. It's got great pictures, And but like I said, the 65 2+2 always been one of my favorite cars. There was one that stuck with me when I was a kid. Some friends of ours from up by Topeka, I believe they've still got it, had a silvery blue 2+2 hardtop with a 4-speed in it. Fell in love with that car as a kid and have always loved them ever since. A brand of nailhead engine. Yeah, Buick was still running nailheads in 65. They ran them up through 66, 67. Is when they quit use. 67 was the first year they didn't use a nailhead. 66 was the last year for it. Let's see what else we've got coming up. A semi-color ad. Once again, a spark plug ad for AC. This is the hot tip of an AC spark plug. It cleans itself as you drive to give you longer lasting power. If I can kind of get a good grip on the page here so it doesn't flop and glare, you can see it actually shows a AC spark plug in use showing heat. So there again, a little bit of color with some dramatic footage to try to catch your eye to suck you into the AC plug ad. Joe, 62 Starfire was one of his favorites. Once again, Joe, great looking car. The 62 Starfire was an amazing looking car. Great trim on that car. But 62 Starfire, good point, Joe. Another beautiful big GM car from the 60s. So big job. You couldn't put some women in one of those minivans in the day. And there's some truth to that too. When those minivans came out, a lot of people, if you were still running a family hauler when that minivan came out, you had a station wagon. And getting adapted to a minivan on a smaller platform from a station wagon, that was a pretty big change. That was a big shift. Still used to a big wagon, and now you're going to get stuffed into a small 4-cylinder or V6 minivan. It was definitely weird. It's number one. 62 Starfire did have a big aluminum side panel. So yeah, that's the 62 Starfire was a beautiful, beautiful car. There's no doubt about it. So, okay, what else we want to check out? There were a few classified ads in this magazine. We're going to hit those really quick, and then we're going to get moving on. The classified ads in the Popular Mechanics in that day was there are tons of stuff in here, pages of them, but most of them were send in for information type thing. But they did have a couple of automotive ads that kind of stood out in the auto supplies and equipment section. There were a few ads that kind of caught my eye or kind of comical. And there again, we're in 1964. So this one I thought was very interesting for the new product called the Smotherette. Yes, Smotherette. Smuthrette. Smotherette. New. Extinguish cigarettes in your car safely and quickly with Smotherette. Eliminates burned fingers and fire hazards. Universal magnetic mounting, satisfaction guaranteed or money back on your new Smotherette to smother out your cigarettes so you didn't burn your fingers. Found that ad very interesting. But there again, most people smoked back in that day. People weren't really aware of what nicotine could do to you. So I definitely thought that stood out as there again a period type thing that you would see in that era. So, and some of this other automotive stuff, build yourself a 200 mile per gallon carburetor. 200 mile per gallon carburetor. Doesn't matter if it's a V8, doesn't matter if it's a 6, etc. Build it yourself. Complete patent drawings and description. Send $5. So they 200 mile per gallon carburetor. That would be pretty amazing even in today's world. So that's the type of stuff that we saw back in that era in these, a lot of these were snake oil type fixes that were advertised in these magazines. And so it was kind of neat just to check out a couple of those and see what they had to say with, it's kind of crazy. This is another one that kind of like that. Crankshaft grinder, hand operated, makes bearings fit without taking the engine apart. Okay. There again, send $5 for the literature. So that's what a lot of this stuff was in the classified as. But there again, still kind of cool. And there again, going back, taking a snapshot in time of, well over 50 years ago now. That's right. Number one, doctors would prescribe cigarettes for pregnant women. So that's for sure. Marie says her 90 Nissan got 42 on the highway. Yeah, some of that stuff would. Those little Volkswagen diesels would usually get 40 or 50 miles per gallon, but 200 mile per gallon would be saying something. Kevin, the 64 Riviera at the Pioneer Auto Museum was gorgeous and for sale. Yes, I think that one did have a for sale sign on it, and Dave will sell you something up there. There's no doubt about it because he's always bringing new stuff in. So. Just like the signs that we brought back from there. I had to pay up for them, but I got some cool signs. So, Jason's Garage, what I heard back in the 80s, and this could be urban legend, but an older fellow I knew told me a friend of his back in the 80s got a GM product, but not sure what it was. But one of those carbs got extremely well fuel economy. I've always heard that. I mean, those kind of wives' tales have been around the industry for years. They had carburetors that could do that, but they didn't want to produce them because of, then it wouldn't, you wouldn't sell as much fuel and things like that. Realistically with the CAFE standards and the government mandates and things like that, if that were all true, all these manufacturers would not have spent the tens and tens or millions or hundreds of millions of dollars that they have spent to develop the technologies that we have today to manage fuel economy. So that would be I've always heard that stuff too, but to me, it would be kind of far-fetched just because of what the government mandates with the CAFE standards and things like that have had them to do, that if they really had that technology, I would think they would be willing to use it regardless at any expense versus spending tens of millions or hundreds of millions on new technology to try to get better fuel economy. Yeah, that's right. And that's fine, Jason's Garage. I'm glad you did. Anybody wants to bring up whatever, that's what we're here for. That's why this is an open chat. It's an open discussion. But that's my personal opinion on it, and I've heard the same stuff before. Just like we just read here in the magazine, they would send you instructions on how to do it. But if the manufacturers really had it, I would think they would have been using it. Marie, anybody need a bench seat for an 82 Chevy truck? If somebody's close to you, they might be able to. Big Job Wise Tale of oil company bought the idea from them. That could be true too. Number one, there's a good yarn about a guy whose carb got 200 miles per gallon from the factory, and when the manufacturer struck out buying it back from them, they stole it. It was a Ford, apparently. So there again, which is great, and that's what's so great about the chat is just by bringing that up. Now, everybody's heard different versions of that story to the point where it's kind of weird. Now, was there some shady stuff going on back in that day with some things? Oh, I'm sure there were. As a matter of fact, for a good friend, Doug Prey's still on with us. He's got a heck of a story about that, about one of his dad's Cords that when they developed the front wheel drive system that disappeared from their factory for a couple of months and reappeared back in the exact same parking spot a couple of months later. And after analyzing the car and looking the car over, they could tell the car had been completely disassembled, reassembled, and then put back in the same parking spot. And that all happened about a year or two prior to the front wheel drive system that was released in the 1966 Oldsmobile Tornado. So there's a lot of stories, a lot of tales about some of that stuff. That one I actually know is true because I heard it from Doug Prey, and he was there with his dad. So, but there were a lot of weird things going on back in the day. So, but yeah, the 200 mile per gallon carburetor, that one I don't buy. Let's see what else is cooking here. Maurice says the big three stopped LA building subways. Bill, the mobile oil sign is cool. Number one, hear about Elvis's signature under the Harley seat. Yeah, I've heard that one where somebody bought an old motorcycle and found Elvis's signature on it. Jason's Garage is a conspiracy theory fuel economy story. That's probably true. L said he heard it was on a Buick that had the 200 mile per gallon carburetor. So like I said, that's what's so great about the group that's on here. We're all car guys. We've all heard a lot of those stories. The only one I know for a fact is true is the one about the Accord 810 that disappeared from Glen Prai's parking lot back in the 1960s and then reappeared in the exact same spot a couple of months later, and after the car had been completely disassembled and reassembled and then put back in the same spot. So all kinds of weird stories about like that. That's the only one that I know of is true. So what else we got going on here? Let's see. Rat Rods. Worked with a guy who bought a mid-70s Camaro new, and a few weeks after he had it, a crew of guys showed up at his house and removed the intake system off the car, saying it was a recall. That's kind of a weird one. I wonder what the mentality of that was. If that was if he had some miraculous luck with that car. Marie, they stopped the turbine cars. Also, Jay Leno has one. Yeah, Jay Leno does have one. The turbine program actually was attempted by multiple manufacturers. It just wasn't feasible. They could not produce the engines cost effectively enough to be competitive at that time. And we have discussed that on here before. In fact, some people brought up there's a YouTube video of a lot of those cars being destroyed, but they were super cool cars. There is one. Jay Leno has one. And there's another one that we had several months back. We actually had a pretty in-depth discussion about it on Sunday Night Live Chat because one actually became available on the open market here, 4 or 5 months ago. So something that, we'd have discussed those cars on here in fairly extensively, and those are cool too as well. Jason's Garage. Elvis is still alive on a serious note. He is on YouTube. Pastor Bob Joyce, and he's a preacher in Arkansas. BW's Garage, hydrogen technology. I've studied a little bit about hydrogen technology. It's been several years. I have taken some classes on it about how those the molecules move across the membrane, how it generates power. Like I said, it's been several years since I've been to any seminars on hydrogen power. But what it all boils down to when it comes to hydrogen power is still where it's got to come from and how it's got to be generated. So I don't see that technology taking over anytime in the near future either. Like I said, I'm a little rusty on it because it's been several years since I've taken it, since I took some classes on that. Let's see. Rat Rod said he later found out the Camaro had, from the dealer that the Camaro he bought from, had an injection system that was getting great fuel economy, but was approved to be sold by the government at that point. So aren't there only 3 survived on the turbines? I think there's a couple more than that. I know Chrysler still has one because when I was still working with, I was still with the company. When I go to Detroit, there was a couple times I went to the museum prior to them closing it at the Walter B. Chrysler Museum, and I did see one there as well. So there, I think there's 2 in private hands, but I think Chrysler may still have a couple as well. But they are built. Since they quit building Vipers, Conner Avenue Assembly is now being turned into another Chrysler museum. So hopefully we'll be able to see that car in the near future on public display again as well. Let's see. Rat Rod says it wasn't approved. Grant's on with a straight 6 fan. Grant, he's taking apart his original 95 F-150. Yeah, you ought to bring it out here, Grant. We can put it out here in the yard so you know where it's at. I guess that would be a fitting end for your channel if you brought your old original 95 F-150 out. My good friend Grant Tommy's on with us. Straight 6 fan on YouTube. He actually has helped me out quite a bit and learning some of the ropes on some of this stuff over the last couple of years as I've been getting started. So good dude. Check his channel out under Straight 6 fan on YouTube. But yeah, you ought to bring that thing out. He actually, his Straight 6 fan is based off of his first 95 F-150 pickup that he had. And he bought it back, but he said it's not worth fixing. He's going to pull some parts off of it. So, yeah, you ought to bring that thing out. We'll put it in the yard, Grant. That'd be a pretty good place to put it. Number 1 says there's no way the king still lives in Arkansas. Well, have to look him up on YouTube and check it out. So anyway, Grant is going to do. Oh, he's going to use that 306 and do an old cab, Ford cab around it. So that'll be pretty cool. Let's see. I'm missing a couple things here. I know I'm trying to keep up with some of it, but I apologize when I miss some of this stuff because it gets scrolling and some of it gets bumped back and I miss it. The 1985 Rod Hall Dodge pickup. Yeah, I do very, very vaguely remember those trucks. I don't remember much about them, but I do kind of vaguely remember those. I'm going to make a note. Maybe we ought to look that one up for a future discussion. So anyway, what else is going on? We need to do some trivia. We need to talk about the raffle. We need to talk about some new inventory. We need to talk about what's going on next week. Old School's here with us. Glad you're here, Old School. So let's get into some trivia. Let's talk about the raffle. Trivia. Once again, we got an oil can from our good friend Mike Shook, one of the Gold Phillips cans. We've given several of these away on here. I think there was about 10 of these in the tote that he brought me. So trying to mix one in every month or so. And not give one of these away every week. We've got quite a few to go through. So Old School just finished eating dinner. That worked out good. So once again, we got Mike Shook's card there, Auto Artistry, Russell Cannons. Be sure to check them out. Check out their website. Check them out on Facebook as well. He built some super cool stuff up there. And he was kind enough to bring us a whole tub full of oil cans to give away to you guys. So trivia for tonight. We checked out some promos on Toy Tuesday. Bought a whole bunch of promos lately. We've been mixing some of them in. We're going to give some of them away. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on both formats for the winner tonight on trivia. But in that video about the promo models, we looked at a station wagon. What year was that station wagon? So I'm keeping an eye on that as we get into the raffle. What else we got popping up on comments over here on YouTube? Some stuff's rolling in here. Kevin said he heard Elvis is making moonshine in them hills. So let's see. That's one way to put it. Got some guesses coming in, but not the correct one as of yet. There we go. Dan got it. It was a 1961. That's right, Dan. 1961 full-size Ford wagon in light green. It matched the 1961 Falcon promo that we had on Toy Tuesday last week as well. And everybody was right in the ball game. 57, 60, 59, 62. I mean, everybody was right there. But Dan was the first one that came in with the correct answer of a 1961 Ford station wagon. So, Dan, I'll have to look back and see if I've got your information. If not, you can give me a call tomorrow if you think about it to make sure I get you wrote down. So, as always, thanks for playing, everybody. Appreciate you watching the videos throughout the week. And checking out what we've got going on. Raffle. This month's raffle. Who wants to check out the promos that we're going to be giving away to somebody at the end of the month? Somebody's going to get 4 promo models for their own collection. I'm trying to decide when we're going to give these away. October 31st is actually a Sunday, and I may be out of town that night. I don't know for sure yet. If I'm out of town, we can still do an episode. But I won't have all my stuff with me if I'm on the road. We can jump on my laptop, but I won't have everything with me to set up and do the raffle. So I'm trying to decide what's going to be the best case scenario on trying to make that all jive, whether we give that away the first week of November or how we're going to do that. But I'll let you guys know. I also got to pick something out for our second name out of the big Buick oil can after we get done. But anyway, let's check out the models that we're giving away, starting off with the 1962 Ford Fairlane. Bill did call me this week. Bill, who's on here with us all the time. One thing that really threw me, obviously, this is obviously a promo because it has all of the writing, all the information on the bottom of them. And but this is what I wasn't sure about. This one has a removable hood with an engine, which very few promos did have. Bill did tell me 62 was the only year they did do that to his knowledge. So, 62 Fairlane 500 with opening hood promo and kind of a teal, I guess. Jason, do I need my address for last week's trivia? I think I've got it. I thought I was going to need it, but I was going through my notebook last night and I think I saw it. So, I think I'm good on you, Jason. Brandon, how many nail heads do I have? I've got several. It just depends on which one you want, because there's a ton of different nail heads. They use nail heads starting in 53 all the way up to 66. Different cubic inch, different transmissions. There's tons and tons of nail heads out there. But I have some, yes. It just depends on what you needed or what you wanted. Jason's Garage, do I collect much die cast? Some. I collect a lot of toys. So it but yeah, I do some die cast as well. But let's see. Let's give there's the 62 Fairlane. All four of these we're going to look at are going to be given away here in the near future. Next up, 1961 Ford Falcon, a little two-door post, a little bit of warp to this one. Worst part about this, it does have a broken A-pillar on the left side, but it does still have the bumpers and grill, bumper and lights. So car in white on white. Next one we're going to give away, had to mix a Chevy in the mix, couldn't give all Fords away. A surf green, because it says so right on the roof. Surf green 1953 Chevy, 150 four-door. Once again, kind of a plain basic four-door. This actually had mirrored windows, so they didn't have to put an interior in it. Plus, it also was a bank to help you save for a rainy day or help you buy your new Chevrolet right there on the bottom where your bank slot was at. Big job. What was the most popular nail head? Probably the 425 is what I would say. The 425, which was available from 64 to 66, was probably the most popular nail head. Most people that want to run a nail head, especially if you're wanting to put one in a hot rod or something like that, you at least want to run one like a 401 that was set up for a turbo hydromatic 400 transmission instead of having to be run the old Dynaflow behind them. So 425, I'd say, is probably your most popular. But right behind that would be a 401 setup for a turbo hydromatic, unless you're actually restoring a Buick and need to be original and go back with original Dynaflow. Do I have any Mavericks? There's two Mavericks in the yard, a 73 two-door and a mid-70s four-door. But the 53 Chevy, once again, the grill's still on it, the bumpers, the lights. So neat promo, and couldn't give all Fords away this time. Had to mix a Chevy in there for our Chevy fans. And one more, and this is a super cool one. This does have a little warp to it, but it is a great, great car. It is the 1960 Ford two-door hardtop in metallic blue with a white top. These are the ones that had the stars. If we can see, I don't know if you guys can tell, the stars that went down the C-pillar are actually there. Had the wide rocker chrome below it. Did this one have specs? This one did not have specs on the bottom. But there again, it's all there with the grill, the bumpers, the lights, the 1 year only 1960 design. So it's a really great looking promo. All the hubcaps, wide wides, cool car. So all of these promo models are going to be given away sometime here in the near future. Like I said, I don't know exactly what day we're going to do it, if I'm going to be gone on the 31st. We will figure something out, though, because somebody's going to win those. Let's see. Big job. He'll take the Chevy to his uncle. He had a 53. Marie had a four-door Maverick. Guess right, number one, the 1960 Starliner. Jason was at a flea market yesterday and saw a promo with a functional hood, but it was missing. So, Hot Rod Shop's Hubley promo. Big Job's got a 61 Starliner. So, yeah, those Ford Starliners are great-looking cars. Like we've talked about every time, dollar chance, you can PayPal me or you can mail it. That information is in the text for both of these posts, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube. The mailing information and the PayPal information is in the text part of this post. When we get done with the video, if you go in and look at the text, it will give you my PayPal address and my mailing address. $1 a shot. If you send me $5, you go in the big Buick can 5 times, $10 10 times, $20 20 times. Your name will go right here into the big Buick oil can, one of my favorite cans. You can see we're already starting to get some names down in there. So who's in here as of right now? Who's in the big Buick oil can right now? Let's go through these real quick. BW's Garage is happy about it. Let's see. Number one picked up a 49 Ford four-door and a Ted Williams outboard boat motor last week. So Yeah. Does anybody else get anything good? I got a few. If anybody else got anything this week, let us know. All right. Who's in this week? Bill Wagaman is in. Darren Ehrlich is in. Ronald Walensky is in. D-Man's Garage is in, as well as BW's Garage. Those guys are all in right now. They're already in here. Those are all the names you see stacked down there in the corner of the big Buick oil can. So, if you want in, we've got a few weeks yet. So don't hesitate. Get them in so I can get your names on the list, printed out, cut up, and put into the big Buick oil can. Show off the Starliner. That's big job. Show off your Starliner. That's cool. Those are neat cars. So like I said, get in for this month's raffle. I'm going to ship those out to somebody at the end of the month. As always, some of our Canadian friends or friends in other countries, I have no problem if you want to get in. But if the shipping to other countries, I may ask for some participation in that. Because as long as this raffle continues to support itself, we can keep doing it. I can't go out and buy the stuff to lose money every month. But so far, it's pretty much covering what I'm spending on it plus the shipping. So if it's going out of the country, we may need some assistance from you to help with shipping to keep it fair to everybody else. So Hot Rod Shop got a Ford Jubilee grill and a hood this week for his hot rod and a pile of Ford tractor sheet metal. Let's see. Bill got a Bill Hershey this week. So Bill got some stuff. 51 Studebaker promo and about 35 different models of Carlisle and Hershey the past 2 weeks. So Big Job says it's a project, but it is a Starliner, so they're still cool. They're still a good-looking car. Anyway, that's the raffle. Like I said, it's going to be a good one this month. It's going to be some cool stuff. I know a lot of you guys are excited about it. I've already talked to a few of you on the phone who are pretty excited about it. And that's why we do it, because it's fun. Let's see. Participation is a Canadian version of the word number one. Jason, a Plymouth and a cool Lincoln wall hanger caps. BW's Garage, 55 Pennsylvania truck plate. There again, everybody's adding a lot of memorabilia, which is great because that's one of the things that we love. What did I do this week? If you guys caught the video Friday night that I posted, obviously I shipped a ton of cars from the F&E Collector Auto Auction. My partner, Chris Froschner with Car Auction Real Estate, they had a sale on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. This whole week's kind of running together. Had a farm auction that had 10 or 15 vehicles out there. I got 4 out there. I did a quick walk around out in the pasture and showed you the ones that I've got coming in. Didn't do a deep dive on any of them because I was just out walking around the pasture before we started loading. Nope, number one is still not the Notre Dame football coach. So, so I threw that quick video up and check it out, take a look at it, and then we're going to do a deep dive on those cars after I get them in. Got a couple of them picked up, so for new inventory this week that actually is physically in the yard, 1947 Ford Coupe, that was not at that farm sale. But I got a 47 Ford Coupe in. It is a true coupe. So if anybody's needing anything for 47, 48 Fords, I got another one of those in. I've basically been completely out of 47, 48 Ford front end sheet metal. So I'm replenished on that stuff for the time being. It is a coupe. It does have a fixable coupe trunk lid on it. So we'll be getting a video out on that here in the next few weeks. From the farm sale, I did pick up one of the 65 Falcons. I got 2. 1965 Falcon Futura, 2-door hardtop, 289 V8 automatic. Really good parts car. Probably almost could be a builder, but probably not really worth it. So, but a lot of good pieces on that one still. We're bringing you a video on that. And I also picked up the 69 Ranchero that we caught a glimpse of in that video. Anything 68, 69 Fairlane Torino Ranchero is super hard to find. This car is definitely not the best one out there. I have nothing in the yard. I've had a few in the past. I've gotten rid of them. So that 69 Ranchero is now in stock at the yard. So we'll be getting some content shot on those and be getting that out to you as well. Let's see, Jason working on an Edsel grill. I've got some Edsel grills as well. They're good. They're great decorator pieces. Dan, it was a Falcon sale. Yep, there was a Falcon convertible there that I didn't buy, but I did get 2 Tudor hardtops, and not a bad day. I could have probably bought more, but the problem is I sat down the other night and made a list. Actually, I made a list after that auction because I had so much stuff. I sat down and made a list of all the cars that I've already written checks for that I haven't picked up, that I need to pick up because I already own them all and I've already paid for all of them. And I had 37 cars and trucks on that list that need to be picked up that I already own. Not that I'm trying to deal on, not that I'm thinking about buying. This is stuff that I physically have written checks for. They've cashed them. They've paid for. I've paid for them. I own them, and I don't have them picked up yet. So I did get 2 of them. I got that. I got a couple of them picked up off that list. So I'm down to 35 vehicles now that I own that I haven't picked up yet. So I got plenty of stuff ahead of me to do, but that's another reason why I didn't push a few more of them at that auction that I probably could have got bought, but I got to get some of this other stuff drug in too. So, but those 3 are physically here. We'll get some videos on them, and I've got to get some more of this stuff picked up here over the next week. So we're bringing you a lot of new content on this new inventory here in the very near future. Number 1, still need a telematic Edsel steering wheel and everything that connects to the transmission for a 62 Cruise-O-Matic. That stuff I don't know a thing about, number 1. That's all out of my wheelhouse. So that's right, big job. The Sprint was still those Falcons would still make a good gasser. So but that stuff's here. We'll be bringing some new videos on that. What's coming up as far as videos this week? We've got a few more from the Pioneer Auto Show. I've got one that has kind of some different stuff in it. There's a few vehicles, a few cars and trucks in it, but it shows some of the other stuff there as well. Some tractors, boat motors, some other stuff like that is still kind of interesting stuff that to show they've got a lot more diversity there than just cars and trucks, including one of the tractors is a Lamborghini tractor. Yep, Lamborghini made tractors. So Lamborghini tractor, boat motors, and there's some cars and trucks mixed in there too. But definitely some stuff that is a little different, little outside the box. But there again, sometimes if you're traveling with other people or with a family, they may not want to just look at cars and trucks. So showing a little more to the different stuff that is there as well. Obviously, we've got some new inventory. I just need to get some video shot also and start pumping some of that stuff out as well. Old school like the 68 Vista Cruiser in that last video. Yeah, that was a great car. That's a nice car. I think it's all original. Tucked back in the corner at the Pioneer Auto Show. Jimmy, is the Ford Coupe worth building? The body's not bad. There's a little bit of rust in the floor pans, but realistically, the body is not that terrible. It was a 6-cylinder car. The motor and everything's still in it, which is all shot, I'm sure. All the glass is broken out. It probably could be built if that was something you specifically wanted, because it's not a terrible body, really. So yeah, if you want to give me a shout, I can get you some pictures of that. You'll give me a call tomorrow, Jimmy, and I can text you some pictures of it or whatever, and you can take a look and see what you think. But it's definitely rough. But like I said, if you're going to build a hot rod and you just wanted a body with all the sheet metal and the grill and all the body panels and everything, yeah, that is all still there. So. Number 1, Lamborghini bought a Ferrari and kept breaking the weak clutch, so he replaced it with one of his tractors, or with a clutch from one of his tractors. That wouldn't surprise me a bit. I could definitely see that. He told Enzo his remedy, and Enzo scoffed. No tractor parts in a Ferrari, so he started to build Lambo sports. So that's why I started building Lamborghini sports cars, was to beat Ferrari. That's it, and I've never studied that, but I'm sure you're right, because that's what Lamborghini did, was tractors. So. Big job. I've learned how to be in the paver this week and not fall out while watching videos. Well, thanks, big job. I'm glad you're watching my videos. Just don't run over anything with a paver while you're watching. So anyway, that stuff's coming up this week. I think that's about all I've got. We're going to go ahead and get ready to start wrapping up. Jimmy, yeah, his dad had a 40 Ford Coupe and he's been trying to find a good coupe to build. Obviously the 46 to, actually it's 42 to 48 body is, quite a bit different shell than the 40. but it still is it's still a 40s era Ford Coupe. But yeah, if you want to give me a shout, we can sure talk about it and see what you think. I'll get a video up on it soon, and see what you think of it. But yeah, those old Ford Coupes are great. I don't know if if you guys have seen the video on the 39 Deluxe Coupe that I've got stashed next door. But if you missed that video, Jimmy, or anybody else, be sure to go back and check out the videos I got on the 39 Deluxe Coupe that my daughter and I literally pulled out of a lean-to down in southeast Kansas here 3 or 4 years ago. You would think of 39, 40 Ford Coupe, they were all been picked up. Literally found this in a lean-to in the back corner of a farmyard just about 3 or 4 years ago, and it had been in there for decades. So we were super, super excited to get that car out. So be sure to check that out, Jimmy, if you like that era of Ford Coupe. Cool car. Haven't got anything done with it yet, but it's rad hole in the keeper section. One of the few cars that I will keep and eventually do something with. So anyway, we'll get ready to start wrapping up. As always, thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate you guys swinging by, hanging out. I can't believe that you guys get on here every week and hang out. And these are starting to go pretty long, but you guys hang in there. We have a great discussion. We have a great chat. And that's all because of you guys and your participation and your willingness to communicate with everybody on here, not just me. Any Zephyr waterfall dashes, nothing there. I don't have anything like that. Don't have a lot of Zephyr stuff at all. I've got a 36 grill. I do have a grill with the original Zephyr V12 badge on it, but that's about all I've got for Zephyrs is that 36 grill. BW's Garages, have a great week. Thanks, everybody. Big Job says he's addicted to nobody's auto. Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Big Job. Well, when you get out here and get that big job Ford and take it back with you, you can check everything out in person. Number one says see you on Toy Tuesday. That's right. That's coming up this week on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. We'll do Toy Tuesday live. I got some cool stuff set back. I don't remember what I've got. Oh yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. I got stuff that I already had set back there's new stuff to do Toy Tuesday, plus the stuff I bought for my memorabilia collection at my own auction at the F&E Collector Auto Auction. So yeah, we got some cool stuff coming up. We got more promos. I got more signs. I got a clock. I got a lot of cool stuff for the next 2 or 3 weeks of Toy Tuesday coming up. So definitely want to stay tuned for Toy Tuesday. Hope you guys liked the mobile oil sign last week. I was really excited about that piece. Super jacked up about that when I stumbled onto that piece. So thanks, Jimmy. Glad you enjoyed it. And thanks to everybody, all you guys being on here, making this thing what it is, your participation, your willingness to share your knowledge with me and the rest of our viewers, because obviously I don't know everything. There's some things I know, but I've got a lot of you guys to help back me up when I'm right and when I'm wrong. So that's what's great about it. Big Job says he loves the show and the audience, which the audience is great. I don't know if I'm the host with the most, but our audience sure is great. So yeah, Jason likes the sign too. Yeah, man, I was so excited about that mobile oil sign. Bill says, thanks. Glad you made it tonight, Bill. Joe says, see you next week. Joe's still with us on hanging in there on Facebook. So glad you're here, Joe. Facebook's been going down on numbers, so I didn't know if we had connection issues there or not, or if we were still ticking along on Facebook. Facebook's still giving me error messages, so I don't know what's going on with them, but YouTube's been ticking right along. We've got a great crowd on there as well, so it all works with both formats still together. Number one, I'd make a box side for my flatbed with a pair of those mobile signs. Yeah, except those are 10-foot signs, so that would be a big bed because I actually had one of my big trucks out. Both my Cummins are long beds, and I had one out when I found that. Thought, oh, no problem. I'll throw it in the back of this. It's got an 8-foot bed. It's still stuck way out the back, so it's a big sign. Kevin, thanks. Look forward to the chat. Glad you made it tonight. Nobody or old school. What else is new on Facebook? Yeah, exactly. Old school. What else is new on Facebook? It's not working right. Joe says it worked good for him, so at least it hung in there for the most part tonight. Dan says thanks. Number one says happy Canadian Thanksgiving, everybody. Lee says see you Tuesday. So like I said, we'll do some more cool stuff on Tuesday night. Toy Tuesday live at 7 o'clock. Be sure to catch that. If not, check up with it after the fact. See what we looked at Tuesday night. We'll get some of this new inventory shot. We'll get you that other video from the Pioneer Auto Museum. Plus, I've got videos in the can from my buddy's yard that I visited a month or two ago. I've got to start getting some of those out. I keep telling you guys about that stuff. Like I said, he's basically closed. He's retired. He usually lets me in once in a while, he may let somebody come in and get something if he feels like opening that day. That's kind of his retirement plan. If he feels like opening, he opens. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But he's great to me. He treats me really well, and he has allowed me to shoot some video content in there so we can share some of that stuff with you. And he's got literally thousands of cars. I'm guessing 3,000, probably 3,000 or 4,000. Tons of cars in there, tons of cool stuff. So I've got, I think, 7 videos there, which is not even the tip of the iceberg, that we need to start posting as well. So a lot of cool stuff coming up. Mary says Facebook actually has not been working good tonight. So thanks for letting us know that, Mary, that there has been some issue. Dean says Facebook is having trouble. So Dean loves the show, but he said Facebook is still having trouble. Mary says Facebook's having trouble. So that explains why our viewer numbers were dropping on Facebook tonight, as it still does have some feed issues. Let's see. Big job. See you, all of you, and God bless you. Red Skelton this day. Yeah. Jason, work afternoon, so see you next Sunday. So anyway, let's see. Scott's still on Facebook with us, has enjoyed hanging out the last couple months. So we've still got some on Facebook hung in there with us, even though we had some feed issues. And I better get signed off. I got a few things I want to get knocked out yet tonight. I'm sure a lot of you guys have more important stuff to do than sit around here and hang out with me, although we keep getting later and later, and I apologize for that. I try not to, but if we've got such great participation and so much sharing and so much knowledge that's really just keeps pushing this thing along, and it keeps moving forward, which is great. So invite your friends over, tell them to jump on with us. That's what makes it great, is all of you guys and your friends. And, we've had some new ones jump on. We've had some guys invite, number one's been inviting some of his friends, which is great. So that's what's great. Number one says anything Bazooka Bubblegum comes along, he's in the market. So thanks a lot, everybody. Like I said, I'm amazed that this has turned into what it is. I'm amazed that the camaraderie and the viewership is built to what it is. And you guys are what is making it amazing. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. We'll see you live Tuesday night for Toy Tuesday. We'll crank some more cool videos out this week. And we will definitely see you right back here, 7 o'clock Central Time next Sunday night for Sunday Night Live Chat. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night, and we will see you Tuesday.